Nintendo news has been a little bit scarce lately. One could even say non-existent. But as Nintendo fans, we're pretty used to this by now. Nintendo marches to the beat of their own drum, and they don't care what anyone else thinks. It's kind of refreshing, actually. And their games are nearly always commercial and financial successes. New games from the Switch just fly off the shelves. So I kind of admire them for this approach. Although, as a gamer and a fan, it can get extremely frustrating. We're used to going months at a time without hearing so much as a peep from Nintendo. So unfortunately, this drought isn't really any different. But enough focusing on what we don't have. Let's start thinking about the releases we do have. Because from the end of August, all the way through to January's end, we have at minimum one major release a month. And in some cases, even two. So let's get hyped and break down Nintendo's upcoming releases, and figure out how these releases will impact future games, and will there be another December release? But before we begin, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for all the latest Nintendo-related content from Keifi's Corner. So now let's make a splash and take a dive into all the upcoming summer releases and beyond. A lot of people are saying that we don't actually have a Nintendo game scheduled for August. But that's not quite true. We have No More Heroes 3, a new adventure featuring our friend Travis Touchdown. I recommend picking this up even if you haven't played a No More Heroes game before. This galactic hack and slash adventure definitely spells out some interesting possibilities. And that will lead us to September 10th, with a combination of games, although they're pretty different. We have Life is Strange True Colors, along with WarioWare Get It Together. When it comes to WarioWare, don't underestimate this compilation of minigames. It is fun, and I want to see what interesting and disgusting things I can do playing Wario against some of my friends. Life is Strange True Colors is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. As the main character, you will use your empathy powers and attempt to influence the world around you. It seems like you can almost take on the emotions from another human being, and that will free them from some of their burdens. But will it put a burden upon you? Will you want to do that? And how would it affect the person you're taking the feelings from? This should be an interesting ride, and I am so looking forward to it on the 10th of September. And that leads us to the end of the month. Life is Strange Remastered is supposed to come out. Not necessarily on the Nintendo, but it is confirmed for the PlayStation. But I have my fingers crossed because I don't see why it wouldn't be released at the same time, and it's scheduled for Q4 2021. Regardless, when Life is Strange Remastered does release, it is a must-buy. You play as Max, a young girl who has the ability to manipulate time, and through your time manipulation, you can experience a variety of possibilities. Do you want to change what just happened? Do you want to see what else could have occurred? Or do you not like that option, so are you going to go back to the first one? All those possibilities are open to you as you explore her journey and her friendship with Chloe. And that will lead us into October 8th, in which we have two things releasing that day. Metroid Dread, along with the new OLED Nintendo Switch. Now, I am quite excited to see what they have to throw at us for Metroid Dread, the fifth game in the Metroid 2D series. We started with Metroid on the NES before moving to Samus Returns. This game was on both the 3DS and, of course, the original Game Boy. That led us into Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo, before we finally ended on Metroid Fusion for the GBA. All four of those games lead us to the fifth one, Metroid Dread. Again, the 8th of October. And the OLED Switch, which also releases that day, seems to get a ton of hate. But honestly, it's not really made for us who already own a Switch. The enhanced sound, the better kickstand, The bigger screen, that's all for people who don't own a Switch who want to get into it. Now, that's not to say I don't want a Switch Pro, because oh my goodness, a Switch Pro would be phenomenal. But that being said, I don't think we should knock the OLED Switch just because it's not a Switch Pro. Anyways, that leads us to October 29th with Mario Party Superstars. Who doesn't want to play Mario Party with their family or friends? It's always a good time. And after that, we have the month of November. The first is a compilation of games in a Game & Watch. The Legend of Zelda Game & Watch, to be exact. This has the original Legend of Zelda on the NES, which is a fantastic but super difficult game if you actually intend on completing it from start to finish. The same goes for Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, another super difficult game, and its style was quite unlike any other Zelda. Speaking of Zelda games unlike any other, the original Link's Awakening is also included on this. That's 3 games in one Game & Watch. I think this definitely trumps the first Mario one that we had. Next up in November, on the 19th, we have Pokémon, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. These games pretty well sell themselves. Young and old, it doesn't really matter. You always have people interested in Pokemon, and those games will sell. They're usually in the end of November because they want people to buy them for the holiday season, and I see people buying them right up until Christmas. But before Christmas, we still have a few games to look at. December 3rd, we have Advance Wars 1 and 2, Reboot Camp. Now, to be honest, I have never played an Advance Wars game, but this looks like the perfect title to jump into, now that this series has been revived. You get to command an army in strategic turn-based combat, playing as a tactical advisor for the Orange Star Army. But the releases on the 3rd of December don't stop there, because we have Danganronpa Decadence. This game has 3 Danganronpa games from previous years, along with a new mini-game, Danganronpa Ultimate Summer Camp. What I just listed were all the notable Nintendo release dates from August until December. And we do have the Breath of the Wild style Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends Arceus, coming out at the end of January, on the 28th. But don't you think that's a bit large of a gap? From the beginning of December until the end of January, when Arceus does release, don't you think that time frame is a little large for a company like Nintendo to not release a game? I certainly do, and that's why I think we could see another release in the month of December, likely near Christmas, at the end of the month, or just to start the new year. What games, you ask? Well, here's one. I think we could perhaps see a Metroid Prime trilogy in order to hype up the release of the upcoming Metroid Prime 4. The likely reason they haven't announced it yet is because they don't want sales to cut into the release of Metroid Dread, that comes out on October the 8th. And if not a Metroid Prime trilogy, then what else could we see in the vacancy of late December, early January? How about a Bayonetta 3? Or those rumored Twilight Princess Wind Waker ports that we all keep hearing so much about? I'd love to dive back into Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. I think it's a safe bet that we'll see something either closer to Christmas or early in the new year, but I'm really curious about what you think. Are December's releases already set in stone? Or is there room for one more title? One more new release to get the fans hyped and to end 2021 with a bang? Let me know in the comment section below. What are your predictions for Nintendo's release schedule? Is there room for one more? My name is Keifi, and thank you for listening to another episode of Keifi's Corner. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this or any of my other videos. Enjoy the rest of your day, and happy gaming!